Obviously, I work for Canfor. We're going to look at where we operate, our response to mountain pine beetle implications, the infestation, Canfor's response, what we're doing about the mountain pine beetle, and who we're working with to do it. You can't do this one alone. This is a big battle. So that's just an overview of all our operations in Canada. It's actually out of date now because we own a place in Sault Ste. Marie as well in Canada. As you can see, we're mostly BC, one Alberta operation. We have, I think 13 mills in BC, but I think we're now at 15 mills in the southern states now, which production is nowhere near as high, but we do have more mills down there. I don't have a pointer, but...
well, there's one on the table there, laser pointer.
Try not to point someone's eye there.
Just a little gold button, the gold.
This is our FMA here, the purple here, and then this is our quota area. That's DMI's FMA. This is our picture of our operation. This is an old picture. We're still with the crane and tree length wood. We're now cut to length mill 100%. We no longer have a crane. I'd say I miss it, but I'd be lying. So. This is distribution of pine in our tenures. As you can see up here, most of our pine is kind of that northwest corner of our quota area up in our Hines Creek quota. And then definitely down south in our FMA getting into the foothills. This tends to be more of an aspen spruce type up in this country. So FMA, we're 40% of our AAC is pine. Quota is 30%, total 35%. So this is where we started with. Yeah, these are tough to see. But anyhow, I don't know how to describe this without. So what it's showing you essentially is the amount of pine is going to be reduced quite significantly as we go along. I won't try to explain it because it's too hard to see. So as one of the things we've looked at is Alberta's action plan for mountain pine beetle. So doing the surveys, doing the level 1 burning, but also the level 2 harvest and salvage harvest operation. Sorry. So Alberta's healthy pine strategy, most of you are aware of it. Objective was to reduce the amount of susceptible pine in the FMA by 75% within 20 years. Everyone revised our operations to target pine. It determined the allowable cut. There were some uplifts for it. We had one. We actually went back down, except for in our quota area where we are cutting fairly heavy to address the dead pine right now. I guess that's one thing. We're not really fighting pine beetle anymore in our quota. We're just logging dead pine. There's no pine beetle to fight anymore. They starved if they're still there. So. Business implications from the pine beetle. So because we're chasing pine, we've had to go further from our mill because, as you can see, the pine tends to be further north and further south. So it's forced us to go to some longer cycles to address the pine. Smaller log size than generally chasing the spruce. You're in a smaller piece size. Reduced fiber quality, shelf life of dead pine. So right now we're logging dead pine up north that have probably been dead for about 6 years, 7 years. So one, I guess, something we've learned about mountain pine beetles, the checks you get in about year 3 after being dead are the checks you have at year 15. They don't change. There's nothing. They don't get worse. What happens though is those trees start to get sap rot on the bottom. They start to rot from the bottom and they start to fall over because the trees are actually getting smaller essentially at the butt, and that's generally the lifespan of the tree. Once they start hitting the ground, they're done. So right now we aren't seeing any of that in Alberta as of yet. We'll be another 7, 8 years of dead pine we'll be logging in our quota for sure. Our FMA area, we generally don't have much dead pine down there right now. So it's good. We got a nice mix of green and dead wood coming from both sides, so it helps out for sure. So here it's on a poor recovery and grade out turns. The mountain pine beetle wood, you do end up with more checks. You end up with more blue stain. Blue stain doesn't actually hurt the structure of the wood, but it cannot be J grade if it's got blue stain. The Japanese won't buy it. So it does hurt a little bit, and yeah, you just end up with drier wood, more breakage and stuff in your mill and in your log yard. Positive factors, so reduce reforestation risk. That's just if we leave the dead stuff and we don't reforest it, what's going to happen to it? Well, so we're addressing it as much as we can, and we're reforesting it to a young stand again. And our increased harvest level up north is a positive for now, but at some point it'll come back down. So this is an old picture, because this is under the crane when we were tree length. But this is these are some of the issues encountered when the pine beetle hit in Alberta. What would we do with the extra AAC? Significant capital would be required to increase sawmill capacity. Softwood lumber taxes in U.S. restricted market for the increased cut. Market prices and exchange rates at that time weren't good. Lumber was poor and the exchange rate was horrible when the beetle first hit in Alberta. So it was a perfect storm at that time. I'm glad to say we've come out of that for the most part. There are still some hurdles and things we got to deal with, but it's looking better these days. So other things we had to think about, we have enough pine seed. That was a concern. I know it's still a bit of a concern because the lifespan of those gray cones aren't great on those dead trees, so there's always something making sure we get enough seed. That bottom one there is just in the first year when we switched over to a pine. We had already had spruce trees in nurseries, and now we've gone to pure pine stands to log instead. So we had to plant a lot of spruce the first year or so. So there was some things to consider for the deciduous tenure holders on DMI's FMA and then on our southern FMA where Norbord and Toko are holders. We don't produce as much aspen generally as we used to when we were in the mixed wood spruce stands, and but they seem to have worked through it fine. So one impact we have is a lot of our pine is in the Caribou range. I don't have to tell anyone here about the Caribou because I know most of you know about it. So we are struggling a little bit with it. There's a lot of there's actually some of the hot spots for beetle right now are in the Caribou zone. So we're trying to figure out what we're going to do and how we're going to manage it. I'm not an expert on Caribou, but we'll just keep doing what we can with the rules that are there. So, so another issue or implication, is the amount of watershed values. Since we're chasing all the pine, it's chasing us down into the foothills more in the Class A's, Class B creeks. So we've had to work hard to figure out how to mitigate to damages to these watersheds we're going into to log all this pine. So far, I would say it's positive. We've come up with some good plans and worked well with the Fish and Wildlife guys to make a plan that's good for everyone. So those are all our hurdles. We had the jumps. What did we do to work with it? Our planning response, we went out and started laying out as much pine as we could once the beetle hit. Tried to get ahead of it. And I would say on our FMA, we did get ahead of it. We didn't log very much dead pine, and we've cleaned up a lot of our pine that was hit. So Capital investments, collaborative approach, and we'll go into more details on all this. So this is the planning. And yeah, we talked a little bit about Caribou and watershed values. For capital, so our division here in Grand Prairie, we bought the cogen plant off TransAlta. That wasn't anything to do with mountain pine beetle, but it was one of the capital investments we've made since then. Going cut to length, we got rid of the crane and we had to build a log yard you could actually get around in the summertime. That was a big capital project. There was a lot of years of bark and mud to get out of there so we can make a good yard. Our sawmill and planer upgrades, so just an example, that mill consumed at one time about 700,000. Now we consume about 1.2 million in that mill. So that mill has gone. It's gone from being what they would say lower quartile to upper quartile. With the longer hauls, we did have to go to satellite yards. Just no way we could truck the wood from as far as it was to our mill all at the time in the winter anyhow. So we went to and we built satellite yards in the old Hines Creek yard and then a couple down south. And we're building our roads so we can haul in the summertime. The days of winter hauling only are done. And one thing, we've put lots of dust extraction into our mill. Milling mountain pine beetle has been, it's a dusty, burned wood and mountain pine beetle are just disgusting to run through the mill. Guys in Burns Lake and Prince George there where they had explosions in the mill. The one wasn't mountain pine beetle, the other one was mountain pine. It was just dust explosions. So we put a huge dust extraction into our mill to fix that problem, as well as a lot more cleaning. This is just what we talked about there. We've put in $66 million since 2011 into our mill, into our operations, sorry. It's a picture of our cogen plant, so it takes all our residual, except for chips. Chips go to Weyerhaeuser, but all our residual bark and sawdust and all the other stuff goes there. It gets burned made into electricity as well as steam for our cogen, or our kiln, sorry. Canfor Green Energy is the. So here's some of our loads we used to have. Tree length. Part of the reason going cut to length is we knew from BC's experience that tree length dead pine doesn't work real well. It breaks lots. It's hard to manage. Harder to get good quality. So we've gone to cut to length. Even in the driest pine we've never had problems getting weight on our trucks. We've always been able to get our weight on, and part of that is going cut to length. You can fill your trucks properly. From a business perspective, it's huge to keep your weight on those trucks. So that's the old crane up here. This is how we unload our trucks now, is 988. So this is the old deck and these are the new decks. And we got a lot less breakage and a lot more organization in our yard than the old crane. That's just a picture of our log yard stabilization. That's how deep we had to go to get rid of the strippings. And that's what it looked like when we were done. It doesn't look like that anymore. I wish it did, but it's still better than it was. So we put a new planer into our mill. Part of that was grading this lumber is a little harder than it was because of all the little defects, the blue stain and all that. So we now don't have a grader in our mill. Our scanner, our planer does everything itself. We just do checks. So yeah, that was a huge improvement for our planer and helps lots with grade out turns. We get way better grade out turns than we ever would have got before it. Here's a picture of our satellite yards. So this is the old Hines Creek yard. This year we have about 250,000 meters in there that we're hauling. We started hauling on Tuesday this week, and we'll haul right through the winter, right through the summer, and until we can get into the bush in the fall up there. So we do bring some tree length in there, and we process it in the yard. We sell the pulp logs to either DMI or Warehouser from there. That's just it was a conscious decision to do it to keep our good processmen working during the summertime. Good processmen are hard to find, and if we can keep them going all year, then they're ready to go in the fall versus retraining them all again in the fall time. So that's our 288 log yard. That's on our FMA. So down there this year we didn't actually have any tree length, but it was a lot of cut length. In that yard we had about 100, just under 100,000 in that yard this year. It's a central location. The forestry trunk road runs somewhere right around here. So we get all our wood there in the winter time, and then we can haul it from there in the summertime with bigger weights. So it is expensive, and we are upgrading this road right here to our main haul road. We have one portion left to upgrade this year, and then we'll have most of our bush portion done. We just have a one-way we have to fix up, but anyhow, it went from a road that you didn't want to drive down in the summer to it's kind of a nice road to drive down in the summer. Now it's all calcium and stuff. So these are all just implications of part of it from mountain pine beetle, part of it mountain pine beetle forced us to go farther away, so we had to come up with ways to get our wood out of the bush. So, and these were solutions. This puddle back here is our water source in case of a fire. We do have hoses and pumps set up in it. This year, hopefully we won't need it, but we will see. Collaborative approach to mountain pine beetle management. So we work with the regional and provincial governments to make this plan. This one here, this was the Worsley Ski Hill right here. This is one of our blocks we logged. It was all dead pine right adjacent to them, as well as on the other side of the valley. But we worked with them. We were able to work all around them all winter time and not have any problems. Visually, it's not beautiful, not as pretty as it was, but dead pine isn't very pretty either. So, Fire Smart. Yeah, I've been working with Fire Smart around Grand Prairie to clean up a lot of the dead pine in the dunes and those pine stands, those sandy pine stands above the wapiti, and as well as research. I mean, this project that you guys are all here for. This is the baling that went on there. This is what the dead pine look like right now. For not all of them, but a lot of them look like that. Just a note on that, we actually find the stands we're in now are a little smaller in diameter than say average, and we're getting better quality outturns out of that stuff because we don't get the checking and it's keeping the bark longer, so it's actually staying in better condition than the great big pine that got hit first. The pine that got hit first was pretty ugly stuff. Lots of spiral checking, lots of this younger stuff tends to stay, or smaller stuff tends to stay in better condition longer. That's what our quota used to look like. That's what it looked like about 3 years after the Beetle came in, and that's what it looks like now. So, no, actually that's not what it looks like now. That's what it looks like now. We're logging our quota area in Hines Creek right now. We're logging. Well, the pine is 100% gray, and we're probably logging 70% gray trees right now. The other 30% would be balsam or spruce. That's what we're logging. So that's just some more pictures of our gray stands we're logging. I know, when the Beetle first came into Alberta, people said, "Oh, you got 5 years, 6 years, and you're done." We're thinking like Vanderhoof, our plateau operation, they're on year 17 right now with dead pine. They're still logging it. But like I said, it's starting to fall over now, so that's going to be when it ends. When those trees start hitting the ground, it's done. Just some more pictures of our dead pine. So as you can see here, we got checks. So what our quality for these stands, we will take, as long as we can get 50% recovery from our log, we'll take it. So you can pretty much have 2 checks to the heart. It doesn't matter how thick, how wide the checks are, it really makes no difference. The killer is the spiral checks. As soon as you have a spiral check, you pretty much have lost recovery on that thing, because it all falls apart when it hits when it goes through the canter. So 7 years is what we're saying we got left remaining in pine harvest. Recovery in the gray stands, that's what we're chasing the most right now is our gray stands. We're going to cut heavy and stay hard up there, try to get the trees to reforest. Addressing the fire risk. There's lots of mixed messages on whether dead pine stands burn better or worse than green. I'm kind of torn on what the right answer is there. So I know we logged some burn last year, and where it got into dead pine, I know one thing for sure: you can salvage a burned green spruce. Salvaging dead pine that's been burnt is a little different story. You get lots of charcoal in the logs because of all the checks going up, and then a lot of it just charcoals right up like a campfire log. So you can't really. Pretty hard to salvage. Like where we logged the dead pine that burnt, our slash piles were bigger than our decks. Where we were doing the burned green wood, it was just like normal logging. There was nothing really to it. That's. So hopefully this year it rains at some point. We don't have to deal with it. And I will take questions, or try to take questions, I guess.